I'm your host, Davina Shinsky, and you're listening to Live Without Limits Dreams Come True with the Right Mindset. Now, today we're going to talk about burnout. And that's such an important topic for the simple reason. Today, many people work at home and you tend to get overworked because there's no such thing as a 40-hour work week anymore. You're really spending more like 80 to 90 hours, especially when you're running your own online business. Therefore, burnout can be a real problem because one of the things that happens is we don't always take a vacation, or even when we're on vacation, we take our computers with us and then we go online. So what we want to do is tell you some ways that you can avoid burnout. So here's the 5 things that you can do to prevent burnout. We live in a world that thrives on the past. For many people, the amount of success that you experience equals how busy you are. They think the busier, the better. However, the act of being busy does not always mean you're successful. In fact, if you're not careful, you may find yourself suffering from burnout. I've always loved the following quote by Socrates: "Beware of the business of busy life." It seems that he knew that the ultra busyness may really mean that you're doing a lot of things to pass the time, but they aren't necessarily bringing you much value. So, what is burnout? Well, burnout is a state that can be described as feeling depleted and exhausted physically, mentally, and emotionally. If you're burned out, you've been hustling and hustling without taking enough time in between to rest and recharge, and it's caught up to you. And it also means that you're burned out, that you've been burning the candle at both ends. Now, I think that most of us can relate to being busy at times. Parents can especially relate to this, as you can get quite busy raising children. If you work and have children to raise, life becomes even busier. Here is in the West, there tends to be subtle pressure on parents to get their children involved in various extracurricular activities. Now, when I'm talking about the West, I'm meaning not the West Coast of the United States, but if you look at Eastern Europe and Western Europe, the United States sits in Western Europe. So we're generally talking about the Western peninsula of the continent so that you understand the difference of what we mean when we're talking about the expectations of parents with their children. So, while this can be most beneficial for the children, running kids around town to attend practices and events can put an even greater weight on the parents' time-wise. But even if you don't have children, it's easy to become ultra busy in a variety of ways. Today, I'll share with you 5 things that you can do to prevent burnout. It's easier than you think. The toughest part is actually discipline yourself to take the time and effort to follow these tips. Tips. The first thing you need to do is get enough sleep. Whether you're running your own business, whether you're also taking care of a family, A lot of these 5 things that we're talking about can apply to any part of your life in today's world. So the first thing we're going to talk about is get enough sleep. This may seem basic, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't get adequate sleep. They stay up late working, watching television, partying, and fiddling with social media. Then they're up at the crack of dawn, off to work. They drink caffeine to help them through the day and continue this cycle day in and day out, at least until it catches up with them. To help prevent burnout, be sure that you're getting between 7 and 9 hours of sleep each night. If you absolutely can't right now, due to say having a baby at home who wakes up a few hours every during the night, take a nap each day to make up for the lost sleep. Get used to having bedtime routine that soothes you and helps you relax and get to bed at a reasonable hour. Now, another thing I want to say about that is the best thing that you can do for yourself is because your body runs on certain biorhythms is that if you get up at the same time every morning and you go to bed at the same time every evening, then what's happening? Your body is getting used to that routine and you will automatically be up and awake at the same time every day. Now, I know I may take a few extra minutes here or there on a Sunday, but I generally get up around the same time. And even if I go to bed, at I will maybe watch a little TV, but I always make sure, and I find that for myself, my eyes will start to close about the same time every night because that's been my routine for years. What happens is when someone retires from work, they tend to want to make up for that sleep, and then their body gets off, and then they have a hard time continuing their routine. And then what happens, it also affects their health. That's why you find a lot of older people who do not keep the same routine that they had when they were younger tend to, I hate to say, pass away sooner than they would ordinarily because part of your health depends on having that same rhythm day in and day out. Number Number two, track your time. Do you know how much free time you have each day? It's easy to get stuck on autopilot and just keep busy all day and evening. You may complain about how busy you are because you feel ultra busy. However, maybe you've got more free time than you think and you're just not utilizing it. Take some time over the next week to track what you do with your time. Then take note of how much free time you actually have. If you can't find any free time, determine what you're doing that you don't need to be doing. For example, maybe you're scrolling social media for 2 hours a day total. Well, you don't need to scroll for that long, do you? You could cut an hour of free time for yourself to do something that relaxes and recharges you. Sure, maybe Facebook or Instagram helps you relax, but there are other ways to rest and recharge that are even better, such as meditation, sitting in nature, listening to the whispers of nature, slipping into a hot bath, or simply sitting in silence. Determine what relaxes you and take time to do those things regularly. 3. Get a hobby. Do you have a hobby that you enjoy? A creative outlet? Take time regularly to engage in a hobby that you enjoy that can help prevent burnout. Unlike some daily activities that tend to take your energy, such as working, a hobby tends to give you energy. Take fishing, for example. Many people love to get out there on the water, unwind, and enjoy the serenity of nature. This gives them energy. There are plenty of hobbies to choose from. If you're not sure what you may enjoy doing, do a Google search on hobby ideas. 4. Have supportive friends. Another thing that you can do to prevent burnout is to surround yourself with some positive, supportive friends. It's quite easy to get into the routine of going to work and coming home alone. It's easy to isolate and avoid others or only have interaction on social media. It also is really easy to avoid reaching out for support when you are struggling. Research indicates that those who have to learn at least one good friend and engage with them regularly tend to live happier, more peaceful lives. Do you have a friend or two that you can count on? Are you spending quality time with them regularly? If not, make the effort to cultivate at least one good friend so that you can journey life with the deep bond. If you need extra support, consider reaching out to a therapist, and certainly don't have to go through the life feeling alone. It might take some effort, but it's worth it. 5. Inspire yourself. Life can become busy and things don't always go as planned. That's just the way that life seems to go. A great way to keep yourself from experiencing burnout on any level is to regularly inspire yourself. What is it that inspires you? Listening to music? Watching inspirational videos? Reading books? Hiking in nature. Take time to regularly to feed your soul with uplifting, encouraging things. It will take a solid commitment to investigate or invest in yourself like this. It's easy to get caught up in the humdrum cycle of life. So purpose in your heart, or let's, it's easy to get caught up in the humdrum cycle of life. So that purpose in your heart today is to inspire yourself daily. It'll make a difference in your attitude and help prevent burnout. Now, also, there's things like motivational quotes, there's motivational videos out there, there's motivational articles, there's many things that you can take time to use to reprogram your thought processes and help you understand how to avoid burnout. Refreshed, recharged, rejuvenated. As you journey through this life, it might get busy at times. However, if you're aware of how you can prevent burnout, you're much more apt to face life refreshed, recharged, and rejuvenated. On a scale of 1 to 10, how busy do you rate yourself? Do you think that you're headed for burnout? If so, what can you do to prevent this? Give yourself permission to slow down, breathe deeply, relax, recharge yourself a lot more often. It's fairly certain that this is the kind of life that you could get used to. And remember, if exercise helps give you energy, and not only helps give you energy, but helps by releasing those endorphins that really refresh your mind, then that's an avenue that you should consider, especially if you have never done any exercise before. Because one of the things it does is it helps to get your mind and your thought processes into a relaxed state, especially if you go to yoga. And many gyms today offer different types of classes that can help you in every aspect of your life. It's just that you need to understand where you're coming from and be willing to take the opportunity to avoid burnout in your lifestyle in today's